This week on ANN, thousands meet in Mexico to celebrate small group ministry.
The Adventist Church in India asks for prayers in the wake of deadly floods.
And a pastor in Ghana loses his entire family after a massive early morning fire.
These stories and more coming up.
Thank you so much for joining us this week.
Nearly 5,000 Seventh-day Adventist small group leaders across the interoceanic region of Mexico participated in the festival celebration coined as Mission First on August 17 and 18.
The Mission First gathering held at the Centro Expositor in Puebla, Mexico, brought Adventist world leaders to witness the progress of the church in the region.
The group also continued to proclaim the message of salvation as they celebrated evangelism growth, strengthened their ministry, and renewed their commitment to share the gospel in their communities.
The festival provided an opportunity for the 11 regions in the territory to report on their progress, receive training from Adventist World Church leaders, and evaluate the small group ministry that has been growing since 2008.
Currently, there are 80,000 active small groups in the 22,000 churches and congregations across the Inter-American territory.
During his address, President of the Seventh-day Adventist World Church, Ted N.C. Wilson, said, "God wants you to proclaim His word and be part of total member involvement, proclaiming the three angels' messages, God's righteousness, preaching the gospel of peace, being a blessing to your community, and leading people to the foot of the cross. God is calling you to action and mission first." Wilson also invited small group leaders to humble their hearts to God, put self aside, and let Jesus control their life completely.
Eli Henry, president of the church in Inter-America, reminded small group leaders to rely on the Holy Spirit.
During the festival, small groups were challenged to seek out at least 2 inactive members in the church and take part in outreach to bring them back into the church.
Delegates were given a workbook with presentations on member retention, instructions on how to get more members involved, the role of Sabbath school, the three angels' messages, and more. For more information, visit news.adventist.org.
The Seventh-day Adventist Church in India is requesting prayer for the state of Kerala after experiencing unprecedented rain during monsoon season and the collapse of more than 80 dams. More than 1 million people have been impacted by the floods in the region. It's being reported that nearly 400 people have lost their lives. Roads and buildings are submerged in water, trees have been uprooted, houses damaged, and transportation in the region has come to a standstill. The airport has also been closed until further notice. Communication lines have been cut and there's unprecedented loss of property. 80% of the state of Kerala is without power. Many people are homeless and in desperate need of food, shelter, and medical assistance. Authorities are seeking rescue boats and relief supplies. Many Adventist church members and churches have also been badly affected by the floods. A team from the Adventist Development and Relief Agency in Canada has launched an emergency response in Kerala. We'll be back in the coming weeks to update you as more information is released.
A tragic fire claimed the lives of an Adventist pastor's family during the early morning hours of August 19. Ebenezer Atto Kessie was away at camp meeting when fire engulfed his house, killing his wife, 2 children, mother-in-law, and wife's niece. Kessie's wife was a teacher at the Valley View University Basic School in Accra, Ghana. She had recently given birth to their second child, and her mother had come to help take care of the baby. Kessie had been away since Tuesday and rushed home upon hearing the heartbreaking news. Church leaders immediately visited Kessie, offering support and condolences. Thomas Teki Akran, president of the Adventist Church in southern Ghana, said, "This is the most tragic incident, and we can only pray that God will be their source of comfort." Kessie is the assistant communication director of the Accra City Conference. Funeral arrangements will be announced at a later time. We ask that you please uplift Kessie and his family in your prayers.
U.S. News and World Report has recognized Loma Linda University Medical Center as a best hospital for 2018 and 19. Ranked the #1 hospital in the Riverside and San Bernardino metro area, the hospital was also nationally ranked in gynecology and recognized as high-performing in 7 other areas, including gastroenterology and gastrointestinal surgery, neurology and neurosurgery, orthopedics and urology, abdominal aortic aneurysm repair, congestive heart failure, and colon cancer surgery. Carrie Heinrich, CEO of Loma Linda University Medical Center, said, "Today's U.S. News recognition is a testament to our entire team, who every day live out our mission of extending the teaching and healing ministry of Jesus Christ through providing the highest quality care to our patients." The annual rankings are designed to assist patients and their doctors in making informed decisions about where to receive care for challenging health conditions or common elective procedures. U.S. News evaluated more than 4,500 medical centers nationwide in 25 specialties, procedures, and conditions for the 2018-2019 rankings.
The Adventist Church in Inter-America recently held their inaugural Festival of CrossCultural Mission Conference. The conference challenged more than 600 Seventh-day Adventist lay preachers, church planters, and pastors to step out of their comfort zones and embrace the cross-cultural mission to all people groups. The 4-day training themed Celebrating the Past, Reaching All the Peoples for Christ took place at the Southern Caribbean University in Port of Spain, Trinidad. The conference provided a forum for frontline missionaries and volunteers to share creative ideas, encourage each other, and identify resources for achieving the common goal of reaching all the people in the territory. Samuel Telemaque, director of the Office Adventist Mission for the Church in Inter-America, said, "The reality is that people from different cultures, ethnicities, and languages are now living in close proximity to each other, and church members need cross-cultural competencies to appropriately share Christ with their neighbors from different cultures. It's a paradigm shift that needs to take place. God created diversity, and the diversity is reflected in the different cultures." Organizers hope that conference results will enable leaders to pioneer planting 300 new churches throughout the Inter-America in 2019.
The Papua New Guinean government's Peak Environmental Protection Authority, or SEPA, recently declared a ridge-to-reef land and marine protected area that includes 2 Adventist institutions and 1 campground.
The Verirada National Park, located on the northern border of the protected area, includes part of the large cliffs that overlook Pacific Adventist University. The rest of the university falls within the western boundary, and the declaration will now protect the abundant bird and animal life found around the campus.
Mount Diamond Adventist Secondary School forms part of the eastern boundary, while the Batama Mangroves and Bootless Bay, the Central Papa Conference campgrounds, are included within the southern boundary.
PAU environmental science students and their faculty are currently carrying out a biodiversity survey of the Batama mangrove community.
The PNG national government recently invited the PAU School of Science and Technology to collaborate with SEPA to help preserve the biodiverse mangrove community within the protected area.
The school is collecting basic data sets for future more detailed research to focus on preservation of the mangrove communities as a means of helping mitigate climate change.
Coming up, young people in St. Croix march against violence.
But up next, Sydney Adventist Hospital hosts its annual Race for Life.
We may look, pray, read, think, worship, sing, and share differently, but we all look forward to the Sabbath. And we all look forward to the future when Jesus will come again. With this message in mind, we arrived at a core component for a new identity system: the creation grid, a simple 7-column structure for layout. The grid is a reference both to the prophetic timeline as well as to the creation week that culminated in the 7th-day Sabbath. Regardless of what or where you are designing, you can always find information to help you communicate that we are all Seventh-day Adventists.
Then Esther sent this reply to Mordecai: "Go and gather all the Jews who are in Susa together, and pray and fast for me. Do not eat or drink anything for 3 days and nights. I and my maidens will fast as you do. After that, I will go to the king, even though it is against the law. And if I perish, I perish."
Welcome back.
Federal and state parliamentarians were among the 800 participants in this year's recent Sydney Adventist Hospital Run for Life.
Federal Member of Parliament and Minister for Urban Infrastructure Paul Fletcher and state members of Parliament Matt Keane and Alistair Hinskins took part in the event, which was officially kicked off by Hornsby Mayor Philip Ruddock.
The event raised more than 30,000 Australian dollars for the renovation of bathrooms and kitchens at the Sands Cancer Support Centre, which provides support and information groups, education, counseling, wigs, massages, and transport, all at no charge.
The center offers anyone in the community who has cancer or whose loved one has cancer a calm, caring, and safe place to receive the support they need.
Beginning in January of 2019, all of Adventist Health System's wholly owned hospitals and hundreds of care sites will adopt the new Advent Health name and logo. Adventist Health System is one of the largest faith-based health care systems in the United States, operating 50 hospital campuses and more than 80,000 employees. The new naming structure will allow consumers to more easily distinguish Adventist Health's care location and services. While its name is changing, the organization is not changing in ownership or business structure. Terry Shaw, President and CEO for Adventist Health System, said, "We are transforming to be a more consumer-focused healthcare system to better meet the needs of those we care for and the communities we serve. Becoming Advent Health allows us to be a fully integrated and distinguishable health system across all aspects of the care continuum, while also speaking to our Christian healing ministry, message of wholeness, and our rich Seventh-day Adventist roots." The name Advent Health signals the arrival or beginning of health and expresses a strong and clear connection to the healing and salvation that God has promised. Adventist Health System's promise of wholeness is an expression of the belief that caring for the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of every person is the key to good health.
Hundreds of Seventh-day Adventists across the island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands took to the streets last month to take a stand against violence. At least 5 homicides have taken place on St. Croix. 3 were the result of gun violence. In addressing the crowd, Pastor Anthony Hall, Youth Ministry Director for the Caribbean Union, stated, "We have invited you here to make one big statement. We are saying no to crime and violence, not only in St. Croix, but anywhere there is crime and violence." The march, coined as a March of Witness, culminated the many community impact programs which were organized by the Youth Department of the North Caribbean Conference for the annual Senior Youth Camp. Hundreds of youth traveled from the conference's 9 islands to take part in the 10-day event. Residents, visitors, and onlookers welcomed and endorsed the call for peace in their community. Young people also took part in the ongoing renovation project at the Island Center for the Performing Arts.
ADRA Canada is honored to partner with the First Nations tribe of the Wikwemikong community on Manitoulin Island as they work to provide positive opportunities for their youth to grow and develop.
The OLE Program is a wilderness-based canoe expedition adventure that is designed to develop leadership skills in First Nations young people.
ADRA Canada sent this report.
The canoe trip is a metaphor for life. If we can work through the challenges of a canoe trip and make it to our destination, then much like life, we can work through the challenges and make it to our destination. The OLE experience out of Wikwemikong is a canoe-based, wilderness-based expedition experience where we are retracing the traditional route of travel of our people along the French River and following the Georgian Bay coastline up into the North Channel. Then we do a crossing to Wikwemikong and paddle into the Wiki Bay, where we're greeted by a gathering of our family and community and a celebration of the completion of our trip.
My name is Mary Penguish. I am 15 years old and I'll be going into grade 10. I had already learned how to canoe and paddle and kayak and everything, but I never canoed for more than, half an hour straight. I wanted to experience Canada's beauty again, to see how beautiful our land is and how beautiful we should keep it. It's been exciting, it's been fun, and I'm so happy I came.
So the OLE program, we're in our 9th year. Next year will be 10 years, including the very first pilot year. The OLE program was a project that would examine whether or not these kind of wilderness experiences and canoe-based expeditions would create resiliency in the youth. Would we be able to facilitate growth in the youth so that they would be able to learn to meet challenges in their life? Would it be a benefit to their mental health? Would it help them to overcome adversity? I think one of the experiences that participants benefit from is from day one, everybody is expected to engage in the activities that make the group function and keep the group alive. So that means everybody is going to have opportunities to cook. Everybody is having opportunities to clean. So we don't have cooks. It's the kids that are doing this themselves. We've seen kids that have gone from having a very sort of poor vision of themselves and a very poor mental health state to flourishing and going on to become role models in the community, have gone on to achieve the dreams that they talked about.
My long-term dream is to become a medical officer in the Canadian military. So I think that if I can be here on the canoe trip and I, can push myself through it and still keep going and persevere through it, that I can probably push myself through to be in the military. I've heard some people say that life is like a canoe trip because it's hard and you just want to go home. It's only hard if you look at the bad part of it and you don't, think about the positives. Yeah, it's going to be hard sometimes, but you got to look past that. You got to think about where you're getting and how far you've already traveled and how, you've already pushed through so much and how you can keep going. This trip wouldn't have been possible without sponsors and people helping us to provide for this trip. It's taught me a lot about who I am and who I can become, and I'd like to say thank you to all the sponsors for helping, bring us together and to help us learn together. That's a big thank you. We couldn't have done it without you.
To watch more videos by ADRA Canada, visit adra.ca.
Coming up, Emily Mastrapa is here to talk about how your church can raise awareness about suicide prevention.
But up next, Adventist Mission takes us on a journey to visit a special group of people in Myanmar.
My brother's unexpected death shocked me into changing my life. A friend of mine said, "Why don't you do a triathlon?" So I swam and rode and ran until I discovered life is more than just human strength. I race because my health matters. I believe because my faith matters. I'm Ed, I'm a Christian. I am an Ironman, and I've discovered my whole life matters.
Welcome back.
Let's journey to northern Myanmar to see how education and a dedicated global mission pioneer are sparking hope among a tribal group known for having a distinct trait.
Adventist Mission has more.
Myanmar is rich in culture, resources, and people. Also known as Burma, Myanmar has a population of almost 54 million, 90% of whom are Buddhist. Some of the hardest to reach people groups here are tribal groups. Let's journey to the north to see how education and a dedicated global mission pioneer are sparking hope among a tribal group called the Kenyan.
Hello, I'm Salai Teng Jogu. I'm 35 years old and I'm working as a global mission pioneer. This place is known as Konta. Most of the people here are tribal people, and the tribe is known as Kenya.
Traditional ways of sharing the gospel are rarely effective in these communities. Perhaps that's why Christ focused on people and their needs first. This is the example Salai follows.
It is not difficult for me to approach them. I simply make a visitation, a house-to-house visit to the people, and talk to them, and also make friends with them.
Salai's wife, Kukupa, has a nursing background. Together, they teach the children of this village and also look after the sick. In an area such as this, education is one of the best ways to introduce Christ's principles and teachings.
With the teaching aids that I have, I serve the children. I share with them basic education in this area.
In the Kenyan tribe, it's not easy to convince parents to send their children to school because they need their children to help work the fields. After Salai and Kukupa spend time earning their trust and explaining the benefits of education for their children's future, the parents allow their children to attend school. The couple knew they would need to nurture their relationships with these parents.
Right now, my wife teaches the preschool. As we render the service to the people, we continue to build their confidence and their trust in us, in what we are doing.
This involves listening to the community's concerns and being aware of their feelings. Since enrollment costs can be challenging to pay for, the Global Mission Pioneer couple makes sure education is available for everyone. Parents appreciate this and begin to notice that their children return home with much better attitudes. Over time, a number of parents have wanted to know more about the power that lies behind this amazing, life-changing school. One such parent is Muo.
The reason I wanted to become an Adventist is because of the many good things I learned from my children. The Adventist school taught them many good things like the truth of Scripture and the love of God. As I learned from my children, I became convinced that I should become an Adventist like them. And now I am.
Seemingly small but vitally important beginnings like this encourage Salai and other global mission pioneers like him to continue their work.
The only reason I'm here is to share with them the love of God and the truth about God. Please pray for the Holy Spirit to touch their hearts, so their hearts will become softer as they come close to us, and as we also approach them with the truth that we know. Thank you so much for supporting us here in Tonga Village.
For more information about how you can make an impact, go to www.global-mission.org.
Watch this and other mission stories online by visiting AdventistMission.org, then click on videos at the top.
Every 40 seconds, a person dies from suicide, and up to 25 times that make an attempt.
For this week's social media highlight, Emily Mastrapa shares how your church can get involved in Suicide Prevention Day.
The World Health Organization estimates that over 800,000 people die by suicide each year. Research also tells that some 65,000 people attempt suicide each year, and hundreds of thousands of people think about suicide. And for every suicide, approximately 135 people suffer intense grief or are otherwise affected. World Suicide Prevention Day is on September 10. This year's theme is working together to prevent suicide. Preventing suicide is often possible, and each of us are key players in its prevention. Every person can make a difference. We should help raise awareness of this issue, educate ourselves and others about the causes of suicide, show compassion and care to those in distress, and share our own experiences. There are many ways that you can take part in World Suicide Prevention Day. One way is by taking part in the annual Cycle Around the Globe event. Participants can take part in groups, individually, and even at the gym. You can also take part in the Light a Candle event. Participants should light a candle near a window at 8 p.m. on September 10 as support for suicide prevention. You can also show your support on social media by using the hashtag WSPD and suicide prevention. You can find information for this day and these events at iasp.info/WSPD 2018. As we show our support as individuals, we can also show support as a church. We should show that the church cares. We should show compassion, and if people feel hopeless, they can come to us and find hope in Jesus and a renewed purpose. So join us on September 10 in supporting World Suicide Prevention Day.
And finally for today's episode, let's turn to Kenry Hilton for a look at Adventist history.
This week, what was to become Andrews University opened its doors in 1874.
On August 24, 1874, Battle Creek College officially opened its doors with 100 students. The college had evolved from a private school established years earlier in 1868 by G.H. Bell. That school was adopted as General Conference project in May 1872, and through the efforts of G.I. Butler, S.N. Haskell, and others, funds were raised to erect a college building. A 12-acre property was then purchased in Battle Creek, Michigan, near the Western Health Reform Institute to facilitate this, and a 3-story building was erected on the site in early 1874. In 1901, following the counsel of Ellen White, who had wanted a more rural site, the General Conference session approved to have the college moved. Now, after search throughout southwestern Michigan, a site was chosen in Berrien County, about 80 miles west of Battle Creek. A total of 272 acres were purchased for the college for about $18,000, which today will be slightly over $500,000. The relocated institution was named Emmanuel Missionary College. In 1959, the Seventh-day Adventist Theological Seminary and a School of Graduate Studies in Washington, D.C. were moved to the campus of Emmanuel Missionary College. A year later, the 3 entities united to become Andrews University. The name honors John Evans Andrews, a pioneer Adventist theologian and scholar who was the first official missionary of the Adventist Church. Interestingly, he left for the mission field in 1874, the same year Battle Creek College opened. The name Andrews University therefore makes references to both of its predecessors, Battle Creek College and Emmanuel Missionary College. From the school's modest beginnings, it has grown to a 2,400-acre campus with an annual enrollment of more than 3,500 students. And that was This Week in Adventist History.
Thanks for watching ANN. Join us next week for more news from the headquarters of the Seventh-day Adventist Church.
We love hearing from you. Send us your feedback and tell us how your church is making a difference in its community.
Be sure to capture plenty of video footage and photos, then write up a summary of the event's important details. And feel free to send us full video reports as well.
You can reach us by sending an email to annvideo11@gmail.com.
Before we say goodbye, here's some good news from the book of Ecclesiastes, chapter 3, verse 14.
The passage says, "I know that whatever God does will last forever. It's impossible to add to it or take away from it. God has done this so that people are reverent before Him."
That's our program for this week. And remember, you can always visit news.adventist.org for daily news and videos. Until next time, God bless.
Take care.